Hello, MotoAmerica fans. Welcome to this latest edition of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. We are absolutely delighted to have a man on who I can't believe we haven't had on a podcast yet, but it's high time because he's one of our favorites. John Ewert, who is Communications Director for Road America and has a massive background in motorcycling and all kinds of racing, and we'll get into that a little bit. But one of the things I want to tell you real quick, John, is a quick story about when we were at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. So you know Kelsey Miller, and Kelsey knows you, and Kelsey's awesome too. But Paul said to Kelsey, you know, you're a second favorite media person. This is our second favorite track to go to. So it's like, and we're like, well, yeah. And she's so nice. She didn't say anything. And I'm like, so man, this is how you rate with us, John. Welcome to the podcast.
I love it, and it is an honor and a privilege just to actually be in the top five. So yeah, I'm one of those kids, field day in grade school, I got the white ribbon, so I'm happy with that, man. I'll go with it.
Well, what made it worse was she'd actually just finished laundering our photo vest for me, so I didn't have to do it at the hotel. So
Yeah,
my timing, as always, was a little off.
yeah.
But I made sure I kissed up to her a little bit for the rest of the weekend, so I think I left her okay.
Yes.
And that's the thing too. Kissing up always helps.
Yes.
So freshly laundered photo vests or spotted cow, unlimited spotted cow after our day is done. Tough, right? Tough decision.
Yeah. Tough. You might have to. Oh, we use his vest, so that's kind of like him laundering mine. I don't have to use them.
That's true.
I definitely do that. And, yeah, spotted cow, meats and cheeses, snacks galore. So, again, that's just typical Wisconsin hospitality there. Everywhere, you stop, it's like, hey, come on in and sit down and have a beer. So,
Yeah, you're
uh,
definitely correct about that.
we love
It's
it.
a it's
Love
a
it.
lot different than Californians.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a culture shock for me when I first got out here, but man, I truly love it, and it's one of those great things. We're very very blessed. We get so many people wanting to come back year after year, work here from a seasonal employee standpoint, and then sit around and hang out and have a beer at the end of the day. I like to say I get to have a party every 2 weeks, and all my friends show up. So here
That's
comes the next
good.
round. So doors are always open, beer's always cold here at America's National Park of Speed.
I like it.
Yeah, John, tell us. So let's get into, you mentioned SoCal. You were there. You're now in Wisconsin and have been at Wisconsin for several years. Why?
You know what? I truly love the place. Here's the thing. I came here in 2012. Ironically, they called me out of the blue. I used to be with Kawasaki, Supercross, motocross, and road race side. Knew the guys at Cycle News, Cycle World, Road and Track, all of these road racing worlds, all of these different publications and entities, and came here when I was doing PR for Tommy and Roger Hayden on the road race side with Kawasaki. Also, Josh Hayes and Benetard. So came here and saw the track in 05, 06. When they called me in 2012, I said, I know the place. Came up here, looked around, said, yeah, I can make this work. And I've never looked back. I truly love it. Again, Wisconsin hospitality. When people come to Wisconsin, these are some of the nicest people you've ever met in the world. They'll open their hearts, their doors, their garages, their kegerators for you. Um, and if you can manage to keep your cholesterol levels low from all the meat and cheese and brats and burgers and beer, you're doing pretty good. It's a cardiologist's dream up here. I should have gone to medical school, but we truly love it because you can swing a dead cat and hit a brat fry, and that's not a brat. That's an actual German sausage, which are phenomenal, by the way, here at Road America. And yeah, I love it. Now, the other neat thing about why coming from Southern California, coming here and don't really want to go back. If you look at road courses and other facilities all around the country, which I've seen them all, I've been to them all, even the Pikes Peak Hill Climb and the Baja 1000. The only thing I haven't seen is the Isle of Man. Road America was built different. They actually kind of made a mistake. When you go to a facility, sometimes you park outside of the facility, a ballpark, a stadium, and you go in and you have a seat and you have a bleacher and you have something like that. Here, you drive through the gates. You're able to move around the property, whether it be on your scooter, your motorcycle, your moped, your significant other, whatever, and park wherever you want, watch wherever you want. And it's 4 miles and 14 turns. So if you look at Road Atlanta, if you look at Mid Ohio, you look at VIR, you're 2 miles, 2.7 miles, something like that from a road course standpoint. Here we're 4 miles. We're 640 acres. So that's what I really love about it too, is you can move around. You're not dedicated to a seat or a bleacher or an area. And there's always concession stands nearby. We've added more concession stands. We've added more clean restrooms. So you're very, very close to a nice clean restroom or even showers if you're camping, plus some incredible food. And you can get everything from tacos to mac and cheese to brats to roasted chicken. Yeah, like I said, it's a cardiologist's dream because, you know, pack on the pounds during the summertime, as I like to say. So it's fun.
It's fun. I want to
Yeah.
go back, like let let's go a little bit pre Kawasaki.
Mhm.
You weren't always a PR guy. I mean, you've had some other things going on that led to that. Why don't we start a little bit there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, honestly, straight out of college, started with the National Hot Rod Association doing media relations there. But that transgressed into the car business with Mitsubishi. So that was SCCA Pro Rally, import drag racing, Formula Drift, Fast and Furious, that kind of stuff. Bentley as well, Bentley Motorsports. Not so much PR, but took a sabbatical. After that, went up to Washington State, became a volunteer firefighter and an EMT. Did my EMT certification at Fort Lewis and McChord, which was a military base. And then I was a full-time EMT in King County and Tacoma, and did that for a few months. And that transgressed into the Washington State Patrol. Tested, got hired the first time. So I went through their academy, did executive security for the governor of Washington while I was a cadet. Governor Gary Locke was the chief scribe for the National Governors Convention in 2004. Love police, fire, first responders, have a lot of respect for them. I have sort of geared myself more towards fire. So I left the state patrol, wanted to go back for full-time fire. Found a couple opportunities, but I wasn't really panning out, and it's very, very hard to earn a living. So, ironically, Kawasaki called me in 2005, right before the first Supercross race. So I came back down to Southern California and did public relations for Kawasaki, but saw a lot of stuff. When I moved out to Wisconsin, I am still a volunteer firefighter, been on with Kohler Fire Department since 2016. And I'm also a village trustee with the village board of the village of Kohler. And I've also managed to be accepted as the vice president of the Elkhart Lake Chamber of Commerce.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a lot of fun.
Unbelievable,
Like I
John.
said, I get to have a party every 2 weeks and all my friends show up. So if people leave trash on the ground in the village of Elkhart Lake or if something goes wrong, I kind of hear about it. So
Right.
I gotta I gotta keep everybody on their toes, and it's a lot of fun, and then I get to be here. So people say find something you love to do and figure out a way to get paid for it. Not only did I find that, but now I don't really get in a lot of trouble because I can call the police chief or other people. But I don't push the edge of the envelope that much. It's just a lot of fun to sort of be really connected with really good people. I do a lot of board meetings. Get to go to board meetings for the Village of Kohler and manage their budgets and their public safety and their property teams, and then come right out to the Elkhart Lake and do it all over again with Tourism Commission, Elkhart Lake Chamber, and various events going on here. So it's really, really cool to have an ear to the ground and watch communities thrive, especially in this day and age where you have tourism and you have other things going on. And small businesses, we've, have struggled in the past since 2020, but now seeing everything coming back. So it's cool to have kind of your finger on the button a little bit and be able to like, hey, how can we help these people? What can we do? So we have a lot of other really cool events coming up at Road America to where we reach out to local communities to try to see if we can bring something to the community that's different. Moto America is just one aspect of that. And then that helps the small businesses in the area because they love the tourism, they love people coming in. They love the motorcycles. They love clubs and groups, whether it's a BMW Motorrad group or a Harley Davidson group or, a local poker ride group coming to town and eating in the restaurants, the bars, shopping, buying gifts and things like that. So it's neat to have an eye-opening aspect of that and understand that experience and how much it really means when a mom and pop business is happy to see people riding into town and parking their bikes and meandering amongst the shops. And if you come to Elkhart Lake, it is like you're stepping back in time. I know you guys know that too. There's
Yeah.
homemade ice cream shops and wonderful little bars and old-fashioned hotels that everybody loves to hang out in. And so we're very lucky on that respect.
So go ahead, Sean.
Well, I was going to say, John, I want to underscore something. So you talked about your background in firefighting and law enforcement, and
Mhm.
obviously your involvement now with Chamber of Commerce. And this is something that in your heart of hearts you have a passion for doing. So all of what you do outside of being communication director for Road America helps them. So it's a very symbiotic relationship in that you're doing it because of the love of what you do, but it also helps Road America, right? I mean, it's kind of both ways.
Yeah, it truly does. And it's really neat when you look at a small business or you look at an entity that's associated with the Chamber of Commerce, and maybe they need a little bit of help of getting the word out of an event that they're doing, or they need a little bit of help of trying to understand how that they can connect to their consumers. So that definitely correlates well with what we do here at Road America and with what I do. So it's fun to kind of, encourage them to think outside the box for events or things that are happening around town. We do an event called Shop and Sip, where people can come to various shops around Elkhart Lake, and then they end up with a wine tasting at one of our local stores here in Elkhart Lake. And that's kind of a neat thing too. With Kohler, you have Kohler Food and Wine. You have the destination locations with the American Club and the various golf courses and things like that. So there's a lot of expertise that I have that correlates well to these communities to helping them thrive. And then at the same time, have a listening ear to what residents are looking for and what sort of complaints are happening and what people like and don't like. Property taxes are a given or, home values or things like that. But we've looked at in Elkhart Lake, now we need a lot more affordable housing because you have businesses that need servers and they need bartenders and they need help and various staff. So affordable housing is a big thing to look at in communities. Then you have to look at public services. Do we have enough law enforcement? Do we have enough fire services? Do we have enough sanitation services to handle things if we're building more public housing? So that's definitely seen an uptick. People are excited about it. Much the same as the village of Kohler. You're building housing tracts. You're paving the way for more homes to be built in the area for better schools. But also there's a lot of dovetailing with it as far as businesses here in this area with Road America. We're celebrating our 70th anniversary this season. We did an economic study a few years back to where we actually found that Road America has an economic impact of 253 million in Sheboygan County, and we help about 3,000 people with jobs throughout the season. Additionally, it's over 400 million through the state of Wisconsin. So we were really fortunate that, we just kind of tossed these numbers out there, and we had the lieutenant governor come and visit Road America a couple weeks ago. And it's always neat to see that eye-opening experience of like, wow, I had no idea. A lot of people have that misconfiguration of a racetrack, and we're not that. We're a community. We're America's National Park of Speed, and we're something where people have grown up here for generations, whether they've just been a fan or been a racer. I have one of our gentlemen who drives a pace car for Road America sold programs when he was 6 years old on the side of the road and became a racer, and he's racing in his 51st June sprints this year. Yeah, it's there's just fascinating stories everywhere. Our history is vast. We're super excited about that. But it's neat to look back at some of this, what we've done for the state, what we've done for the area, how everybody looks forward to the summer and MotoAmerica and Vintage Moto Fest coming back. Um, Being up in Wisconsin, it's tough because the winters are very, very harsh. So they kind of have to put the motorcycle away for the winter. But once you get a good 45, 50-degree day, everybody's out riding. I ride. I find that I get a lot more bugs in my teeth up in Wisconsin than I did in Southern California, that's for sure. Those things are big too. The June bugs are like, man, I mean, just talk to Greg White. You get one of those things smacking your visor. It's like you're getting a concussion. Was that a golf ball or a June bug? Um,
Exactly.
but it's just really, really neat. And again, you have to pinch yourself because history is made every single day at this racetrack. I was looking through footage the other day. I found when motorcycles first came in 1980. Freddie Spencer, Doug Chandler, all those incredible names, those legendary names. You still look at guys that are still riding and teaching, Josh Hayes, Roger Hayden, they had incredible results here before. So it's always fun to kind of look back at that and remember the days it's we just really um, you kind of go into hibernation a little bit during the off season. Sure, we're planning for other events, but then as soon as we get some nice days, you really you have to kind of stop and pinch yourself, especially when it's quiet at the end of the day, when the riders are doing their track walk or people are hanging out in their motorhomes or their campsites, because you truly do feel like everybody's just camping in this really cool place, like
Right.
it's a national park. And then all of a sudden the engines fire up the next morning and you're just like, what? I was talking to a rider one day, young guy, and comes off the bike, and he's in his leathers. He's kind of hunched over and drinking some water. And he's just like, man, I was out there during, morning warm up and all I could smell was bacon. Going through the carousel and I just smelled bacon. Everybody's up cooking. And man, I was just so hungry. And, I come in and it's like, hey, you got to shave a tenth here, or you're a little bit low in this section and whatever. He's just like, it just smelled so good. And that's just one of the great things about Road America is people come out here with their families. They do family reunions. They really make a week out of it. And then they turn around and go home and then we do it all over again all
Yep.
summer long. I'd like to tell my wife I'll see you in September, and she's okay with that.
Yeah.
Luckily,
Yeah, I bet.
we're still
Hey,
married.
are we the first big event of the year?
You're probably the first big event of the year, and I'll preface this by this is that we have a vintage event that comes in before you guys, before Moto America.
Vintage cars, right?
Yeah, vintage
Okay.
cars, SVRA, and it's great, about 200 cars, which again is it's a correlation of history of almost every era of racing. So it gives us an opportunity to have fun, knock the rust off a few things, make sure some of the wires are still plugged in.
Mhm.
And then you guys come to town. So you're from a big event standpoint, yes, absolutely, because it's just so cool. It's the perfect time of year when everybody's out riding. Kids are out of school, people are planning their summers. Usually, Memorial Day has already passed, so people are thinking about what to do next. And that's really exciting for me because you see all walks of life. You see Harley riders high-fiving, dual sport riders, and you got guys on classic, cafe racers and choppers coming in and checking out other bikes. It's like a bike show within a racetrack, within a race. And then on top of that, we have Vintage Moto Fest. So you get to see the historical bikes and cool custom stuff too. So, you know, we've always tried to figure out a way to how do you really package it all and make it awesome. And it's the people and it's the fans and it's the the energy that pulsates around here. There's never really a ton of like live weird music in anybody's campsites, but everybody's having a good time. Lots of campfires, lots of adult beverages being consumed. People get to ride their scooters around the track, their motorcycles around the track, visit other campsites, check in on people. And that's that energy that you get. It's like it's just really cool, and they're also very hardy. Sometimes it can be a little cooler than normal. You throw on a sweatshirt or whatever. Sometimes you get a little bit of rain, you throw on a trash bag, and then everything passes, and everybody's having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I want to talk, John. Oh, sorry, Paul. I want to talk real quick about the fact that you guys are always making capital improvements to the track, but it seems like over the past few years, it's really stepped up even more. I mean, you've had a repave, you've done some things with some signage, you've added some focal points like the beach, which is very cool. Um, Talk about that a little bit, why you do that and why it's really been kind of ramped up in the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's very important to us. We listen to our fans, we listen to our shareholders. We're publicly owned but privately traded. So if you think about the Green Bay Packers, we started in 1955 where they actually sold shares. Cliff Tufte and the Chicago region sold shares to various individuals, families in the area to move racing off the roads around Elkhart Lake and do it in a safe environment. They built this racetrack and it's remained the same since 1955. But that is important for our shareholders and it's important for our fans to understand because our shareholders don't really mind dividends. They want to see the money being put back into the facility. So that's what we've done consistently year after year. We have a long-standing capital improvement plan to where we'll rebuild a bridge, We'll plan a repave, we'll redo some fencing. So we've had massive improvements since 2015 as far as the paddock shop, the concession stands, the new Victory Lane, and also the repave in 2022. This year we have a brand new walkover bridge over the front straight, which allows people to walk, and also golf carts, which you will see, which is very, very impressive. Additionally, there's an extra road going to the false grid from the north paddock, which allows race cars to not have to travel amongst the fans as they're moving up and down the hills to go to the gearbox concession stand or turn five. So it alleviates some pressure there. We've also paved the north paddock and improved some of the drainage. It does rain in Wisconsin, so things get muddy and murky, but we paved the north paddock and improve that drainage to where nothing really goes on the racetrack, and it also goes outside of the facility completely. But by paving the north paddock, that allows us to do more events, such as Formula Drift, such as some other things that we're kind of looking at and pursuing, potentially concerts or festivals or things like that. So it allows us to open up a lot of other opportunities. We've enclosed the carport garages down there, but every year we're either rebuilding a bridge. We've done the Corvette Bridge, the Johnsonville Bridge, a new walkover bridge, or doing extra paving or basic improvements. The beach is really cool over in the carousel because, I mean, I was talking to some riders too. They're like, there's guys playing volleyball over there, guys and gals playing volleyball, and there's sand, and there's a taco truck, and I'm trying to practice here, you know. You don't see that at racetracks. It's just a way of us trying to find a unique way to use the land. Lots of trails, lots of incredible viewing areas that we constantly add. And people ask, they're like, "Oh, you're cutting down trees. You know, don't cut down all the trees. That's part of the beauty." Well, we don't. Most of them have been um, diseased by, ash elm disease, Dutch elm borer, all sorts of different things, and they're old and they're dead, and they can be potentially dangerous. So we actually brought in tree carvers and we carved them into beautiful carvings that are located all around the property. So people can do geocaching events and go from carving to carving or try to find them or scavenger hunts. So that's a way we've repurposed the trees. Sustainability is a big part of everything that we do here. We've recycled tires as far as adding more barricades. We've added belting, which has been recycled from various construction facilities. We took a lot of the tailings and the grindings from our old repave of the entire track and improved some of the trail systems around the track so that it's easier to ride a motorcycle, scooter, a dirt bike to get from A to B. We've utilized some of the cabling that we've had previously from the zip line to make barriers for people to go on some of these trails. We have solar charging for electric vehicles up in the paddock. We have solar tubes in the Haggerty Tech Center. Again, water, I wouldn't say recycling, but mitification is important for us as far as runoff goes. So that's where some of our areas have been refurbished and reconstruction as far as water management goes. Low flow toilets in all of our brand new clean super restrooms. So that cuts down on water usage as well. So we're constantly, again, looking out for the area, making people sure of where they can be and view and enjoy. And we listen to them. People have said, "Can you expand the trail down to turn 12?" Yeah, we can do that. Make it easy access for golf carts. Can we have an overlook at turn 12? Can we have an overlook at turn 11? Yeah, we can certainly do that. So we're constantly reinvesting funds back into the facility to make it better. And then we tell the fans about it. And then they want to come back year after year. And it's still, we're still cognizant of that affordability aspect. We want to keep the ticket prices affordable. People say, "Oh, you're raising ticket prices because you've done all these improvements." Well, then that's kind of a given. You got to do a little bit, but we don't do it very much. This weekend I think people can get in for around $30, $35. And a season pass is very, very affordable with over 50 days of action. But we listen to that because we want to still be the most affordable option. And when you think about Milwaukee Brewers, Milwaukee Bucks, Green Bay Packers, or other pro sports entities in the state, you're spending a lot of money to take a family of four to an event. Here, kids 16 and under get in free. Parking is free. You drive your car in, you find your favorite location. You can put up your easy up tent. You can, bring out your barbecue and you can tailgate right inside the facility, right up next to the racetrack. So you're kind of immersed in the whole experience. I mean, if you really ask people, like, can you be down on the field at Lambeau Field? No. Can you be down on the field at American Family Field for the Brewer game? No. But you can be on near the racing surface at Road America as motorcycles go by at nearly 200 miles an hour with a contact patch of about 50, size of a 50-cent piece. And you can feel that energy and that vibe straight from your easy up tent, your lawn chair, while you're cooking bacon. And then the rider's going to pull off and get himself a BLT.
Makes me
So
want to buy a season pass, and I live in California, so I don't know how efficient that would be.
we're like I said, we're just very, very blessed that so many people love this place and want to come back. I joke and I laugh because it's hard to find a rider or a driver that has something bad to say. And it's that old interview from like the old Ricky Bobby, like I don't know what to do with my hands, and it's like I need you to say just give me something that I can write about or say. And well, I love the place. It's great. Okay, hey, a little bit more. Well, it's really cool. Anything else? So it's kind of a good problem to have. It's really cool. It's a really fun place. We're lucky that we get riders and teams because motorcycle racing has to be an affordable sport. So a lot of these guys drive their own motorhomes, their own campers, their own trucks, their own vans, and they love staying here. So that's so neat when you're camping here and you're like, there's so and so riding by on a scooter, and you're right there, and you're like, hey, can I have an autograph? Can you take a picture with my kid? And the riders love staying here, and the drivers love staying here, and they make a family vacation of it themselves. So can you imagine like being able to camp outside your favorite sports team's venue or even inside your favorite sports team's venue, and then having these players, these pro athletes, these pro riders and drivers camping right next to you or coming and hanging out in your campsite and having a beer at the end of the day. You would never see that with the
Right.
NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball. You'll see that with MotoAmerica, and you'll see that with other race entities that come to Road America, and we're just really proud of that.
Yeah, it's good.
I one of my favorite stories about being in the media center there is when you turn on that movie
Yeah,
and then you wait for somebody to see who says, "Hey, is that da da da?"
yeah.
And I love the fact that we got Sean Bice the first the
John was
first
the
year.
first.
He
It
was.
is it is a renowned tradition, and again, this is one of the rarities that some people don't get to see. But at the end of the day, we turn on Days of Thunder, and Sean started it. We were all pining away at our stories, our videos, our various other stuff, and he pokes his head above his laptop and goes, "Hey, is that Days of Thunder?" Like, yeah, it is. And we have carried that tradition on because IndyCar came back in 2016. Matter of fact, I think it was 2016 when that occurred. And we turned it on at the end of the day, and the entire media team from IndyCar stopped and watched Days of Thunder all the way through. Knew all the quotes, knew all the stuff, knew all the scenes. A little bit awkward when Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman are in bed together, but never
The
mind.
sugar packets.
Sugar packet scene. Now it's a little awkward when you're sitting there with PR reps, of various genders. Um, but they sat there and they watched it, and then they realized that they were actually past deadline and they had missed a bunch of stuff. And oh my gosh, we still got to get our work done. And it's like 10:30 at night. Yeah, so I've even told that story to my wife. I said, "Look, I might be a little bit late, but that's probably because we're going to watch Days of Thunder."
That's so
Classic.
good.
I have a
That's
couple
so
beers and
good.
watch some Days of Thunder, and it's always fun when like Brian J. Nelson kind of pokes his head around the corner there, even though he's editing, photos and other people, they stop their work and it brings back a lot of cool memories. But that's racing in general. It's always fun to sort of have that camaraderie in the media center and be able to get to do that with some friends and people you love to see. Because that's what makes it fun. We all work hard as well as the riders do out on track and the various teams do in the pits. Everybody has their way of unwinding, and that's what we do here.
Okay, well, there's no truth that us three have been there since the beginning because that was 70 years ago, as you told
Right.
us. So I think I've been there for half of those probably. But what's changed? We talked about this a little earlier before we got started on the show, but how much has the job actually changed? I know it,
Yeah.
I've only been doing it for 10 years, but I've obviously been doing the other side for a lot longer than that. And it's just a lot different now. And explain a little bit about how that works now compared to how it worked back then.
Sure. I mean, it's really about bringing everything to the people. So now we're more of a media nucleus, as far as everything. Used to have newspapers, television stations, radio stations show up and do various things. Media centers would be full. Now there's so many different avenues of where people can get their information. And also with media being stretched a little bit thin, they can't always be on assignment. So we kind of bring that to them. We do a lot of the broadcast stuff, package various video segments for our local news teams as well as results. And then also we do features, featurettes, um, press releases, various announcements, radio scripts, radio interviews as well. So we'll take what MotoAmerica does and share it as well, post them at press conferences and various other things. But there's so many different avenues now to where you kind of have to ball that all up and help the media do their work. And that's what I really enjoy. We're lucky when we get reporters coming here and covering an event or finding a unique story about a rider. But we're also equally lucky that we can take the post-event interviews and the post-event information and then share that with the media, and then they will use it because they maybe didn't have enough time to drive the 60 miles from Milwaukee or Green Bay to be here on site and to gather that. Because for young and up and comers, it's a level of understanding. They don't understand that you can't always just be here and then it magically ends up on TV or in the newspaper or on radio. You've got to do that interview. You got to watch the race. You got to do that interview. You got to get the quotes. You got to find that story angle. You got to produce it. You got to edit it, and then you got to send it back. So it's kind of an eye-opening experience for younger folks coming out of college and wanting a job in sports. And then veterans such as ourselves, we kind of know how to do that. We know how to bend and twist and turn and make sure to find those unique angles and get it to them. And they appreciate it more. So once you establish the network and the relationships, we tell them, yeah, hey, we'll get this to you. No problem. We understand you're very, very busy because there's maybe a golf tournament or, we just got through the NFL draft. There's lots of other things going on with Major League Baseball right now. Time is very, very valuable. So we try to package it up. And there's been many times where we've been sitting watching Days and Thunder. I'll get an email or a call from a member of the media saying, "Hey, are you going to get that to us? Because we'll take care of it tonight during the 10 o'clock broadcast." Yeah, we'll do that. We'll get that to you. So that's when I kind of have to put my head down, put my headphones on, like other people do, and knock that out of the park. So it's a different world. There's content creators, there's influencers, there's tons of people out there. So again, we have to weigh that carefully as far as who receives media access and what kind of things go on. But we encourage that because Steven Spielberg said it best probably 20 or 25 years ago, where he said, once, there will come a day where everybody has a video camera. And now we're there. Now people are literally becoming their own media conglomerates with their phones. So we have to evaluate that as far as, is this person going to provide content about this event in a way that benefits the series, the riders, the drivers, the entities, and the facility? Or is this person producing content for the betterment of themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Gain followers and gain monetary compensation. So it's a careful balance, and it's a lot of fun. And you know, there's some that are doing very, very well at it, and there's others who are starting out, and there's others who just aren't doing very, very well, and we have to weigh those all very, very carefully.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, we're now a complete broadcast, print, radio entity. Podcasts are another thing too. I love podcasts. That is the wave of the future. I truly believe that the more people that get into podcasting and doing stuff and bringing information to others, they will thrive. Because that's with podcasts, you can listen to that while you're working out. You can listen to it while you're driving. It doesn't have to be necessarily video, but you can gain a lot of valuable information. And then if you find something entertaining or useful, then it hopefully it benefits you. But podcast is another thing that's really, really came into the fold. I want to say probably in the last 3 years, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the last five, certainly in the last year, to where I've even thought about doing a Road America podcast. But I get pulled in so many other different
Yeah.
ways. I look forward to my days of thunder at the end of the day rather than
Right.
Yeah. Hey, John, I want to ask you a couple things. You've got as your backdrop there, the track. And I mean, it's just awesome to look at an overhead shot. It's so cool to see it. And it's 4 miles. Um, And there are some certain aspects of the track that have names. Tell us why it's called Canada Corner.
Sure. It's called Canada Corner because it is essentially the most northern part of the track. That's one theory. Another one that is pretty solid is because back in the day, we used to work with local Boy Scout troops and local entities, Girl Scout troops, and others to help clean up the facility after the events. And as they were working amongst the bleachers and the hillsides down in turn 12, a lot of them found Canadian cigarette packs and old Canadian beer cans and all sorts of stuff. So the belief system is as the various Canadians came down from the upper north and brought their own libations and vices, that yeah, that's where all the litter came from. So Canada Corner being the northernmost part of the track and also where a lot of the Canadians hang out. That's how it kind of derived its moniker. And there's several others around the track. The kink is one of them too, because it is kind of, turn 11. It is kind of a kink in a track, and a lot of people have had a lot of unfortunate experiences there. So it's even got kind of a sinister name to it, which has sort of stuck, by being the kink. Hurry downs as you come down, through turn 4 towards turn 5, there is a downhill stretch that's very, very fast. Road America has a lot of long straightaways and a lot of turns because they wanted it to emulate the roads around the surrounding area because they used to race on the roadways. So Cliff Tufty, when he actually walked the surface, he would put a stake in the ground and he'd say, this is where I want to turn, and this is where I want a sweeping bend, or this is where I want something, because he wanted it to emulate the roadways in the area. He also did not remove any land or grade it down. He just basically left the hillsides, left the elevations as they were. So when they repaved it in 2022, they actually used 7,000 different data points. We surveyed for over a year and a half, maybe 2 years. We used drones, we used laser topography, we used stakes in the ground with special GPS sensors, to where these 7,000 data points allowed the pavers to put the track back exactly as it was.
Wow.
We had several riders and several professional drivers actually drive the base surface of the track before the top surface went down. And they said, we did not notice any imperfections. We did not notice anything different than what it was before. So for those shareholders who are no longer with us and the shareholders who still are, it's a pretty phenomenal feat when you really think about it. 4 miles of brand new asphalt in 2022, exactly the same as when Cliff Tufty walked the land in 1954.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
For years we've heard off and on, even back to the two-stroke GP era, that, let's have a GP at Road America. They've even talked about MotoGP, and with this possibility of Liberty Media, an American company, getting involved and them wanting to have more of an American presence, it comes up again. And it's certainly got the distance. It's got the runoff, I believe. It's got the infrastructure. What's your take on that conversation? Do you guys welcome that, I would think?
Yeah,
And
we do.
also Formula One too. Comment
Yeah.
on that. Okay.
We do. We certainly welcome that. Again, we have lots of conversations with the FIA and other entities. They come out here. There's a lot of crossover when it comes to event officials. Even some of our corner workers and other marshals work various events. So we're always open to that. I do see it being probably more prominent from the two-wheel side as opposed to Formula One, because you do have to look at runoff areas, you do have to look at safety considerations, and you do have to look at infrastructure improvements. Naturally, the surrounding area can accommodate the people because we have the Ryder Cup and we have the PGA Championship before. We've had other large events. So if you talk about hotel rooms, camping, all that kind of other stuff, yeah. It's really about the infrastructure here, what sort of improvements are necessary, also sanctioning fees, and bringing the event here. Probably more probable from a two-wheel side, just because when you think about Formula One, the level of runoff that they have to have, the level of expansion to the facilities that they would have to have, garages, other amenities and sanctioning fees, it's pretty vast. So when you look around the United States, as far as where Formula One does things, in Miami, in Las Vegas, also at Circuit of the Americas down in Austin, Texas, those areas did they either built it, they did some phenomenal infrastructure improvements, or that they basically catered to F1. Here, there is a level of trepidation because there would be so many infrastructure changes or improvements that it would be hard to probably put the original Road America back.
Hmm.
So that's a consideration too. So I see the probability of two wheels with World Superbike or even a GP being probably more of an opportunity. And again, I'm not an expert than a Formula One. Now, if people are Formula One fans, they can come here during some of our vintage events and actually see, in my humble opinion, some of the cooler Formula One cars,
Yeah.
from the 90s actually racing here. It's phenomenal to see, Benetton from 1990 and others, going full tilt, down the front straight. The sound is just phenomenal. So, if you're a Formula One fan, that aspect is still here. It's just not the modern era stuff. Um, all boats rise with the tide. So we're excited about where motorsports is going in the US. We've had record crowds with IMSA, and MotoAmerica was phenomenal last year. We're seeing more interest in motorsports through the various documentaries that are out there. So again, we're fine with that. We're here. If anybody wants to talk to us, and as far as where to go, Milwaukee Mile has an IndyCar race. Again, that potentially brings more motorsports fans from the Midwest up here, as well as you just got to look at what all is really going on out there. And motorsports is growing. It's exciting to see the manufacturers coming back from the automotive vehicle side, but also from the motorcycle side as well. So we see the future as being very, very bright. We just have to make sure that it's done the right way and that, we're appeasing everybody.
Yeah, I think it could be a case of be careful what you wish for.
Correct.
Because I think, like, when I look at down there behind you there in that overhead shot of that track has a lot of soul to it, if you know what I mean. And if you start putting a bunch of infrastructure in there and it suddenly looks like, Las Vegas, I'm not sure that that's what you want to do. But
Yeah, it takes away that joie de vivre, that personal,
yeah, all the stuff you talked about earlier, the camping, the people being next to each other and having the freedom of walking around and doing whatever they want, all that would, a lot of that would go away.
Exactly. And so it is a careful balance. Again, we do listen, but we've even had, some influence as far as NASCAR. People ask, when's NASCAR Cup coming back? What are you guys going to do? Well, our response is the door is always open. We're here. We know we can perform an incredible event. We've done it. We were selected as best, NASCAR race, I believe in 2021 and 2023, even though we didn't have a race, by USA Today. And that was a fan, poll, a reader poll.
Hmm.
But and we've had 120,000 fans here. We can have well over 300,000 fans here. We know we can do it. It's really about finding the schedule, making sure the television stuff works out. But we're here. We're willing to listen as far as that coming back because we've proven that. If having a GP or Formula One here, there's probably a lot of other hoops to jump through, but it's definitely would take a lot more planning and making sure that everything fits in everybody's schedules and television wise. But I would say this is that yeah, getting it back, to the way it was would be tough. There's the old Jurassic Park line, you bred Tyrannosaurus Rexes. We don't want to create something that actually eats the venue. So that's the thing that we have to be careful about.
Well, I gotta get one question in for you. When we can ask you a million of them, but we'll ask you in a couple weeks when we get up there, and we do that. So John, people from Wisconsin are called Wisconsinites. They're called cheeseheads. I've always thought, and I've always called you guys Scotties. Isn't Scotties an okay thing to call you guys?
Yeah, I mean, Scotty's an okay thing. Wisconsinites, again, we're very fortunate up here, that we're a hardy bunch. I can say that I'm more of a Wisconsinite now. So yeah, it doesn't really. There's a lot of things that Wisconsinites really let roll off. And if you probably noticed from the NFL draft, just the attendance there up in Green Bay,
Oh,
uh,
it was crazy.
they
Yeah.
like a party. I mean, you put, and I kind of loved how they did the NFL draft stage to make it look like a big garage, you know? So that's what Wisconsinites love to do. If your garage is open and you got cold beer, everybody shows up. So the NFL draft did a real great job with building the stage there up at Lambeau Field because everybody showed up, and Wisconsinites love a party. So we don't mind Scotty or Wisconsinites, and it's a badge of pride that people wear, when they're in other parts of the country. There was a video going around a few years ago of a guy walking down the streets of New York with his shirt off, going from one bar to another. And it was minus 13 degrees. And the reporter said, "Geez, you must be cold." And the guy said, "No, I'm from Wisconsin." You know?
Real cold.
So there you go. And if you watch the Packer games with fans with their shirts off and whatnot, it's pretty awesome. I think Wisconsin has the largest consumption rate of brandy in the country. You might want to research that, but it also serves as antifreeze in the wintertime. So there's a lot of folks that truly enjoy a good old fashioned, which is a drink, by the way, and a Friday fish fry. So, come on up here and we'll do that for you. Cheese curds as well.
Well, John,
Cool.
thanks for joining us. You know how we feel about you. We know how
Love
you
you,
feel.
John.
How we feel about your racetrack, and we're excited to get there in a couple of weeks. I tell anybody that's never been to a MotoAmerica race, if they could only go to one, I would suggest going to Wisconsin. It's a beautiful time of the year. The locals are great. The places we stay in are great. It's got that hometown feel, and it's something that, like, from being from Southern California, it's something that you never see, obviously. So I highly recommend it, and I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks.
We're going to keep the place green, nice, and smelling great. The mosquitoes are size of small aircraft. So bring your bug spray, bring your sunscreen, bring your tent right on in, have a good time. And yeah, stop at a Quick Trip, get yourself a couple cases
Love Quick Trip.
Yeah.
Love it. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
John.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, you
Thanks.
guys.